Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Well, no victory song again today. Not my fault, guys. Not my fault. Another rough game. Yes, they lost by 3 points in overtime. What to say? Well, I've got things to say. I got lots to say, but so we should just get into it. But you know what? Yeah, now the season is going to be about how we can improve every game, how Cabe can improve every game, and how close we can stay into the games. Because winning is just not in our future the rest of the year. I don't know, but we're right in them. The last how many games we've been in them because one or two things they lose. I don't know. Maybe my sister's right. McCaskey / Hallis has sold their soul to the devil along the way, and payment has come due in 2024. Because out of the 49 years I've seen the Bears play, this season and the games, how they've gone, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I really, really don't. This is, I don't know. So let's get into it and see what went on yesterday, okay? So, and listen, I'm pissed that they lost. I wanted them to win. I wanted them to be 5-6 today instead of 4-7, but they're not. They lost 30-27. So, but there were some positives in this game along with negatives, but in my opinion, there were more positives. So, at this point, that's all we can hang our hats on, and we have a quarterback. There's no doubt about it. We've got a quarterback. So, let's get talking. So, I do my threes always before the game and after. My threes are time of possession, turnovers, and penalties. And if you can win these, you're either in the game or you're going to win it. And the Bears have showed week in and week out that I'm right about it, but they just don't get that damn W. So the time of possession, the Bears, 34 to Minnesota's 33 and change. Yeah. Turnovers, we both had a turnover, 1-1. And penalties, the Bears lost that. They had 8 penalties to Minnesota's 5 penalties. The penalties in the first half of that game yesterday killed them. For Christ's sake, on the first play of the game, they had a penalty. After an 8-yard pass to Clement, boom, penalty, comes back. We're now 1st and 15 instead of 1st and 10. So I'm gonna break down those penalties in a minute, but I just want to give a few more stats. So the total yards, incredible. Bears had 398 yards total to 452, and that 452 is what lost us the game. Besides stupid head coaching decisions. Passing 320 to 328 for Minnesota. So we were right there with Minnesota. The big difference is the rush game. The rush game was terrible yesterday. They couldn't get it going. They only had 78 yards rushing. And you know what? I would have put Johnson in there more. I felt against this type of defensive line of the Minnesota Vikings, you got to use a bigger dude than Swift, and they didn't. And they only got, and if they had broke over 100 yards, I think they could have won that game because Minnesota had 124 yards rushing, and the Bears can't stop the rush. The defense just cannot stop it, and that was the big difference in this game. Really coming down to it, really, really was, because I told you. I mean, listen to these stats. Williams was 32 for 47 for 330 yards. First rookie quarterback in Bears history to reach over 300 yards in a game. That's sad, but cool for him, but kind of sad for the future, the past, right? He had 2 touchdowns yesterday, and he rushed for 33 yards. He was actually our leading rusher, as sad as that is. I know, that tells you got a problem there. Swift only had 30 yards. He was only averaging 2.3 yards a run. And Swift came up with 35 yards receiving. Johnson had 2 yards with 1 touchdown. What? Get Johnson, number 23, in there more. Come on, man. Come on, Brown. Do it. He is so good. And I think he can move that pile. I have said it time and time again. And I think against that defensive line in Minnesota, he would have fared better than Swift. Wide receivers, Moore had a wonderful day. He really showed up. He had 106 yards receiving with 1 touchdown. And this is the next one, number 13, Allen, 86 yards. They went to him a lot because Moore and Clement and Rome were all being covered quite nicely by Minnesota. So Allen finally got in here. To this point, before this game, I have been extremely disappointed in Allen's production, but he showed up yesterday, 86 yards with 1 touchdown. Clement, you know what? He did drop a pass. That was right there. That's about the only bad thing he did. But 85 Clement had 64 yards. Number 15 Rome had 39 yards. So the receivers did what they did. There were Clement dropped a ball, and the other ones were on Cabe, really. But I'm really glad to see Allen showed up because the other receivers were being covered because they are the top receivers at Allen. So then he got open, and look what he got, 86 yards. That was great. Let's talk about the defense briefly. We had 3 sacks. They had 3 sacks. We had 1 forced fumble by number 36, Owens. Good job down on the goal line, which gave the Bears the ball back on the 2-yard line. All it really did was prevent Minnesota from scoring because after the Bears got the ball on the 2nd-yard line, after that series, they did nothing with it. Ended up putting it. Number 31, Bard, he had 11 solo tackles and 2 assists. He had a day yesterday, really. 95 Walker, 55 Martin, and 98 Sweat all had sacks. Finally, Sweat, you show up. Before the game, I read that he was fucking frustrated. Well, then show it on the field, Sweat, because prior to this game, he only had 3.5 sacks. Now he has 4.5. It's still not enough for the money you're making. You are signed to get sacks, and he needs to get more of those, in my opinion. I know he's been banged up, but you know what? You're a tough guy, man. Your brother's doing awesome for Philadelphia, I may add. And number 6, Gordon. It doesn't show in the stats, but Gordon had a great game yesterday. Gordon was all over the field. He was knocking down passes. He really shined yesterday, so right on Gordon. I know it doesn't really show in the stats, but trust me, if you paid attention, he had a great game. So let's get into some specifics. Let's talk about the penalties. As I mentioned, very first play of the game after the 8-yard pass, penalty. Now it is 1st and 20. So now they got to, do another play. Then it became 2nd and 10, 3rd and 5, punt. That penalty on that first, right off, it just, look what it did. As I've said about penalties, it completely changes the play calling. Instead of 1st and 10, now that the OC has to be, oh, great, 1st and 20. What am I going to do to get us out of this mess? Penalties in the first half were terrible. But they ended up, but I will say on that, no, they did not punt, so I take that back, okay? That was me bad. There was so much punting, I'm sorry. So, but they didn't really hurt them, but it's not the point because they did go down and score a touchdown. So it was 7-0 at that point. But it's not, it's just they can't have these penalties. The next penalty was on defense. They gave Minnesota on 1st and 10, they gave them a penalty. Now it's 1st and 5. After that, they threw a long pass, ended up being 7-7. See, if you don't get the penalties, you just don't know what happens, It just... it's 1st and 10, now it's 1st and 5, which changes their play calling. Boom, lost, long pass, 7-7. Next penalty on defense again. This time the penalty took away an interception. We had that interception, penalty, goes back to Minnesota. They get the ball back. What happens? They score a touchdown, 14-7. You don't get that penalty. We have the ball, and our offense is doing. And number one, it will still be 7-7 at that point, and you don't know what your offense could have done. Then the offense comes out. This is not right after that, but the offense gave up another penalty. They start out 1st and 10, then it's 1st and 15. And the Bears, by the way, are second in the league on pre-snap penalties. They're second with the most pre-snap. After that penalty, they did end up getting a field goal. But the penalties are a problem. I'm just trying to show you. Number one, JJ, who I really like, had 2 pass interference penalties. One of them, the second one I didn't mind as much, is because he was really playing tough and it was in the middle of the field. But the first one was when they were down on the goal line when he got his first pass interference, and they had knocked down the ball in the end zone. Penalty, then it's 1st and goal. The Bears did actually hold them because they got a sack, and then it was 3rd and 21. I'm sorry. Then the Bears did get a sack by, I think that's when Walker got his sack, which pushed them back. See what it does? They ended up settling for a field goal. Now it's 17-10. That was a big one because it would have been 2nd down and 10 instead of 1st and goal because of that penalty. Now, they only came up with 3 points, but you still gave up 3 points. You might have still given it up, but maybe not. Maybe without that penalty, you get a turnover or something like that. Penalties are terrible. There was another time in the game where the Bears, this was when we were in overtime, and this just really sucked. The Bears get the ball first. That offensive series was embarrassing. It was the worst offensive series in the game. And in an overtime game where you're lucky, you get to touch it maybe once, usually once, and when you do, you better make it a good series. They did not. First, the first 2 plays, we got a few yards, and then after that, Cabe's running all over the place, and he gets sacked. And now we're at 3rd and 21. They got a penalty after that. Now it's 3rd and 26, and you punt in overtime. And guess what? Bears never saw it again. Game over. They went right down the field and scored the winning field goal, 30-27. I mean, so I'm just showing you a little bit about the penalties, how destructive they are. They're just terribly destructive. And in that last series in overtime, I mean, it was really bad. I was really disappointed in the play calling. And of course, Minnesota really came at the end because they're like, okay, they were rushing all day, and I got to give KB, he only was sacked 3 times, so you got to give a few props to the offensive line. But 2 of those sacks I think he could have avoided. One now, but 2 of them for sure, and especially in overtime. So that was about the worst thing Cabe did. He did miss a couple passes, but he's still a rookie, so... but penalties, the Bears cannot overcome penalties. They are not good enough. Good teams can. They can, and I'm going to give you an example in a little bit about a good team that can do stuff like that, but the Bears aren't there yet. So penalties, sacks, mistakes, Bears aren't at the level that they can overcome these. Now the defense. The defense, I'm very torn on the defense. Yes, they gave up 452 yards total, and they couldn't stop the run, 124, although it's been worse in other games. I think if the Bears' running attack, the Bears had over 100, I think the Bears could have pulled it out, but they didn't. But the thing about the defense yesterday was they were playing at times so good. This is Minnesota. They are better than Green Bay. Much better. And they were 8-2 coming in, and they beat us in every category except for one, which was the defense giving up points. They were only 3 behind us on their points allowed by their defense, but our defense have gave up the most points all season. They gave up 30. You can't give up 30 points and expect to win a game. I'm just saying. But the problem here was the few penalties hurt them, but what was killing the defense yesterday, they'd get them in 3rd and long. I know at least 3 times I could think of the top of my head, and there was probably more, that they had them 3rd and long, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 18, whatever. And every single time they gave up the long pass and they got a first down. That just killed the Bears. So I'm saying to myself, I'm sitting there watching it thinking, why are they doing this? Why are they giving up these long passes? Did their coach, their defensive coordinator / Flus, did he have them in the wrong positions for what the plays that they were expecting to happen? I think so. I don't think he was putting his players in the right positions to stop those 3rd and longs. I really do. And then this really, really made me mad. Then we knock Darnold out for a play or two. We got him. And now it's 3rd and 16. And they bring in their second string quarterback that has not played in a long time. And I'm thinking, this is great. Now the opportunity, we're going to stop him on 3rd down. We're going to get the ball back on pretty good field position. Nope. He didn't even rush that guy. He let him stand back there and throw a pass. The second string quarterback that's been sitting on the bench forever, you come in and you give up a 3rd and 16 pass to him? What the hell, Flus? You got to go after him. Just like you should have went after Daniels in that Washington game when they were on the 50-yard line, 8 seconds left in the game. You should have gone after this guy too. And in that game, they gave him a first down, free 15 yards. And in this game, they gave him another first down. Terrible calling. Terrible. And then what really I noticed, and this is something the Bears have not had a problem with this season, but yesterday it was a problem. They were not tackling. Many of the Bears, I saw Edwards, I saw Owens, I saw, who else really missed a good one? I was really kind of shocked. It might have been Stevenson. They weren't getting their tackles. They weren't wrapping them up. You can't bump into them and expect them to fall down. That's not going to happen. The tackling was really bad, but then at the end of the day, even though we did give up way too many yards. So, yeah, the defense needed to, and they did. They did not play well. They gave up too much because our offense scored 27 points. I know that's not the most we've scored this year, but in a game like this, when you're playing an 8-2 team, and you've come back, you've scored 27 points, you've come back to tie up the game, the defense got to step up and shut it down. They just do. But they should have stopped him in overtime, yes, to give the ball back to the offense, but that first offensive series in overtime was horrible. And after that, I knew we were not going to win the game. I mean, the Bears won the onside kick. Nobody wins those now with the new rule changes, and the Bears did. And I thought, oh my God, the tide has turned. The luck has changed. The Bears could win this game, and they should have. Should have, but they didn't. And here we are again, scratching our heads thinking, what the hell happened? But you know what? When you have a defense that gives up 452 yards, you're not going to win a game. You're just not. So that was all the bad. You know, the defense had a few sparkling moments, but for the most part, they did not look good yesterday at all. And I believe 30 points is the most they've given up this year. Now, let's talk a little good. People, we have a quarterback. We have a franchise quarterback. Williams looked good yesterday. He's looked good in the last couple games since we have a new OC. He's getting rid of the ball faster. He's seeing the field better. He's running around. He's making better decisions. And we've got a quarterback. He's still a rookie, so at times he showed that he's a rookie because he missed 2 to 3 passes that I think he could have made, but he did miss open wide receivers. And those taking those sacks, really, he's got to work on that more. He, as I said before, he's got to ground the ball at somebody's feet or throw it out of bounds. And I was yelling that in overtime, throw the ball out of bounds. I'm sure everybody was doing that. But he's still a rookie. So these are correctable mistakes. You can work with them. If you've got a good head coach and OC, you can work with them. He will get better. And if you give him a really good offensive line, it'll get better. Just think, if he had an offensive line like some of these guys out there do, where the line starts and then it goes around like this, and he's standing in the middle and the line's holding, and he can scan the field, doesn't see it, and he can come back and do it again. That's what good offensive lines offer their quarterbacks. He does not ever have that time, but he is seeing the field. So my point is, with these few corrections, and they're correctable. Obviously the offensive line not until next year, but you know what? I got to give them props. They played pretty damn good. They really did, considering they're banged up, they're out of position. They're not very good. There's just one or two of them that may be good. Jones, Jenkins, Wright, but the other guys, but Cabe is the real deal, people. He led the Bears back and scored 11 points in the last minutes of the game. How many quarterbacks can you remember in the history of the last 10, 15 years that could do that? None. And Cutler, no. Mitchell, no. Fields, no. But he did. He stayed in there and he just kept playing. He is our future. And he was making good decisions when he run. I mean, that run where he jumped over the player, that was great. But we don't want to have to rely on him running because he's going to get hurt eventually. That's why you got to get that run game going. You needed to run more. They should have run more, and they should have had Johnson in there more for the type of team they were playing. He would have gotten more yards. I know it. I guarantee it. But Cabe, he didn't turn the ball over again. The Bears have not turned the ball over in the last 5 games. I heard that on Shy Go last night with my buddy Greg was saying it. CH Go. And in the last 5 games, I didn't know this. The Bears haven't turned over the ball, but then they haven't won either. So he was saying that last night on the show, and I was like, yeah, how do we take that, right? I mean, it's like, that's really good, but we're 0-5. I mean, right? So, but he's our answer. But we need a head coach and a good offensive coordinator that can help mentor him and take him to the next step, because he's not even close to being there. But he has shown flashes. Yesterday he got over 300 yards, as I say, first time in history for a rookie quarterback. And if he can continue to do this next year, next year polls, well, he better give us an offensive line, right? Because I'm losing confidence in Poles and some of his decisions. And of course, it started with the offensive line. I mean, I think he just totally blew that, and that is on him 100%. But I can't say enough for Cabe. I know there's still criticism out there and people this and that, but he did play well considering. He brought us back and tied the game up. Even with all the dumb penalties and the turnovers that they had. I mean, if you take back that stupid special plays turnover when number 11 on the punt, what was he doing standing there telling everybody to get away from the ball, and he's standing there and the ball hits him. And it gives it to Minnesota. Boom, touchdown. I mean, you take that mistake away, that's 7 points. Bears win the game. Right. And, of course, we know we had some, I'm going to talk about those, but that turnover just really hurt the Bears, that special teams turnover. Worse than the missed field goal, in my opinion, because they got 7 points and it changed the whole momentum of the game. The Bears were rocking it. They were going to get the ball back. Cabe was hot. They were scoring points. He was throwing the ball well. Boom, turnover. Everything changes. Now they're winning. And that turnover was the worse. It just really, really kills us. And they won. They got the onside kick. Nobody gets those nowadays, but it is what it is. So here are some of the reasons I believe, in a nutshell, I'm going to label them, why the Bears lost. Number one, missed field goal. 3 points. It was blocked again. That made me very concerned, like, oh no, it's in his head. And then, of course, he did come back to redeem himself. But when that happened, okay, so we left 3 points on the field. Then the special teams made that turnover, which gave them 7 points. So now that's 7 points to Minnesota, 3 we left on the field, basically 10 points the Bears gave away. The penalties in the first half were atrocious. They had way more penalties in the first half. I think they had 6 in the first half and 2 in the second half. So they cleaned them up, but it was too late. The defense, number 4. Defense gave up way too many long third down passes, and they couldn't stop the run, and they weren't tackling. Number 5, and then this is the big one for me, head coach again, bad decision making. Number 1, he goes for that 2-point conversion when it was 24-16. You take the extra point. 24-17, 7 points difference. Why at that point of the game did he go for the 2 conversion, which we did not make, so that it's 16-24. Now you know in your head you got to make somewhere along the line you got to score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion. But you take the points. And this was later in the game, I know that, and most teams would have done what he did, but the Bears need every point they can get, in my opinion. And why? Well, it helps on the scoreboard. It looks better. It takes pressures off the offense, knowing, okay, now we're going to have to score 8 points along the line. It helps your defense. Okay, we're only 7 down, And when you score points, it picks everybody up. It gives everybody that confidence. So now you're down 8. Stupid ass call. Kick the extra point. It's 7. It's 17-24. And then another thing. I know that people are going to say, no, Lynn, you were wrong. They had to do it. And it was late in the game, and we were 4th and 4. And where were we? 50, 45-yard line? And no. It was closer than that because he could have made a field goal. So I forget where we were, but we were on our side of the field, and it was 4th and 4, and he went for it, and we didn't get it. Kick the field goal. Then it's 20-24 or 20-27. I can't remember where it was in the thing, but you get my point. Take the points. Again, the Bears need the points. Now, did he have no confidence in Santo coming back? He had already come back and got extra points and a field goal, so put him back there. I believe he would have made that kick. Yeah, he had 2 blocked back-to-back, but I think he's professional enough and good enough to overcome those, and I would have put him out there just to give him his confidence right back. Make that field goal, which he would have, and then you're closer by 3 more points. Again, you walk away, your heads are down because you didn't make it on 4th and 4. Now that you turn it over on downs, now the defense has got to go out there again with no points on the board after that nice series that they had. It's defeating. You're making stupid ass decisions again. Take the points. The Bears need, in this stage of the season and in this stage of where the Bears are, they need every point they can get. For the scoreboard, for their heads, for their confidence, for all of it. And then he has another stupid-ass challenge, and he has not won any of his challenges this year. I believe he has 4 and he hasn't won any. And he was inbounds, and that was just a waste of a challenge and timeout. It never came back to bite us, but it doesn't matter. It could have. And you're wasting time. I don't know. If you wanted to give your players a rest, call a timeout. You look so damn stupid calling these challenges, which are clearly bad calls. Now, I don't know if it's coming from up above, but you make that last decision. They'll tell you, Coach, they probably say it's close. I don't know. I think he might be in. You know what? But come on. He was in. He makes these they're terrible. Everything is just, he's horrible. He is, as I've said the last couple weeks, he is coaching not to lose. And again, John Madden said, you coach not to lose, or you do gimmick plays like they did yesterday. Bad teams do gimmick plays. And my son liked it. I understand it, but I didn't like it. So when Moore threw to, was it Rome? Yeah. And the guy got him, and so Moore threw to Rome, and had it not been very well covered by the defense, it would have been a touchdown, but it wasn't. Now, some people think that was pass interference. Honestly, I don't think it was, people. I think it was just a good defensive play. I don't like it. The reason I didn't like it is Cabe was hot at that point. He was making his completions. He was hitting his receivers. Give him the ball. That's what you're paying for. He's called the quarterback. Now, I know a lot of people liked it. It makes the defense honest, but I still can hear John Madden saying, gimmick plays are for bad teams. And that's the truth. Keep it in your hot quarterback's hands. No! And they were hoping for, obviously, a touchdown or a pass interference. They didn't get either. And again, I don't think it was pass interference. I know my son does, and I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that do. I don't really I did listen to Shy Go for a while last night, because I don't like to sit and listen to all the radio guys and hear all their opinions on this, because I want to do my show on what I saw yesterday and what I think, okay? So I truly believe we are so close. We are so close if we had a head coach that could make a correct decision. I'm going to give you an example of a good head coach that has his team. He has every one of his players, all three sides of the team, and they all bought in. Example, 3 games ago, the Detroit Lions were playing Texas. And their quarterback off threw for 5 interceptions before the half. They were losing 23-7 at the half. And he threw all those interceptions. They come back after the half, and Detroit ended up winning 26-23. And they are now 10-1. Dan Campbell, at that halftime, he walked in there. He told the players, he must have given one hell of a frickin' speech. And he pulled Golf aside and said, forget about those. We're going to win this game. And his team, they all rally around each other. We've got your back, man. We're going to come back. They come back and win that game. Bears would have never been able to come. Most teams do not win a game when their quarterback throws 5 interceptions. We know because Jim McMahon did it twice. Yeah. And, of course, we didn't win any of those games. So this is my example of a good head coach. This guy has his team believing. And in this game, of course, it's talent on the field and making the plays and not making mistakes, but believing that you can do it will give you a W every time. And if this isn't an example, what I just gave you, I don't know what is. This guy is a bona fide head coach. Now, I personally do not want the next head coach to be a new head coach. Now, Dan Campbell was, so he's one of the few exceptions, but the Bears have had terrible luck with hiring guys for the first time head coaching. Lovey was the only one, but Lovey was a head coach in college. So you can say he did have experience as head coach. So I'm not going to say Lovey. But after Lovey, none of them had head coach experience. Well, John Fox did. But John Fox was past his prime, and they should never have hired him. He was past his prime. So I want the Bears to bring in somebody who knows how to win, who knows how to take you to the playoffs. Mike Gravel is one person. He played under Belichick, and he was a head coach. And he got kind of screwed. Who did he play? Was it Tennessee or Carolina? I can't remember. I think it was Tennessee. And he just didn't have a good team, so they fired him. But it doesn't have to be him, but I want, and I know a lot of people, Ben Johnson of the, Detroit. Well, first of all, you don't know if he's even going to put himself out there. If they win the Super Bowl, Detroit, I believe Ben Johnson will make himself a candidate for head coaching. But just because he can run an offense does not make him head coach material. We need somebody that knows from top to bottom all the scenarios, the good, the bad, and how to motivate. And doesn't use the word execute 500 fucking times in his press conference, and doesn't throw his players under the bus, which Flus has been doing time and time and time again. It started with the Washington game, and I only listened to a little bit of his press conference because I can't stand listening to him because he sounds like a politician. He never answers the questions, and he says the same shit all the time. Execute. The players didn't do this. He was kind of blaming at one point in one part of the press conference. It sounded like he was blaming the offense. And I'm like, your defense gave up 452 yards. No. It was a team loss, man. It was a team loss, and it was mostly defense and turnover. The defense couldn't stop them, and that terrible turnover. That's what cost us the game, not the offense. Even some of the dumb mistakes they made, truly, head coach, defense, that turnover. Those are the real 3 reasons we lost that game. They should have won another game. This is what we're going to be saying the rest of the year. Maybe. I don't know. I hope so. Now, we're playing Detroit on Thursday. Oh, my God. So I always do a show before the game and after the game. So I'm debating about whether I should do a show on Wednesday, because I can tell you right now, without even looking, Detroit beats us in every category, too. We know that. So we know what we have to do. The offense has to play like they did yesterday, minus the mistakes, get that run game going to get over 100 yards, use Johnson more, and the defense, well, it's quite obvious. You got to play better. You got to play lights out. You got to get in Goff's face. Goff, I will tell you, he threw those 5 interceptions in Texas 3 weeks ago. He throws interceptions. They've been way down since he's come over here, but especially this year, but it's in his history. So the Bears have got to get in his face. So I think I might skip the show on Wednesday because there's really no point in talking. It's going to be a tough game Thursday. They're coming off a tough loss again, and they're playing the first game on Thanksgiving. I mean, doesn't this suck? You just want to have a nice Thanksgiving dinner, and then we got to watch the Bears lose and try to digest that along with your turkey. I got to say, though, so I'll see you next Friday after the game on Thursday. I'm skipping Wednesday. There's no point. We know what has to happen, okay? But we will talk Friday about the game, I promise you. But I got to say, I'm going over again. I love those Bears helmets. I think they're so cool. The shirts are pretty cool. The socks, I got to tell you, whenever they wear that, I can't get the Wizard of Oz song, I'm part of the Lollipop Gang, the Lollipop Gang, the Lollipop Gang. I can't get that song out of my head for the entire 60 minutes of that game because they look like, those striped socks remind me of the what do you call them? The Lollipop Gang in The Wizard of Oz. Every time that song is going over and over in my head. I could sing that for you instead of the victory song, but sorry, they don't get a victory. You don't get the version of Lynn's victory song. So, anyways, that's it in a nutshell. My heart is just breaking. We're 4-7, and I just don't know how many. You know what? After seeing, well, I know San Francisco's hurting. We could beat San Francisco, and we might beat the Seahawks, but I don't see us beating anybody in our division again. We still have to play the Minnesota once, Detroit twice, and Green Bay once. That's 4 games. I don't see it happening. But you never know. It's football, and anything can happen on any given Sunday, right? So take a deep breath. The good thing is we have a quarterback. We have a quarterback. Now we just need a fucking head coach, an OC. I like Brown right now, but I want somebody who can really work with Cape. Now, he's done a good job, but we need a new head coach. And if you get a new head coach, you know all the coaches are going to be gone. So I don't know why the Bears don't fire him now. They get it. They get an advantage on looking for, they can start interviewing. They can start looking around. I don't know why they don't do it. I don't care that they're one of 3 teams that haven't fired their coach during the season, but it's time. Put the special teams guy in there, special teams coach in there, and just ride out the season the best you can. Or the OC. I mean, look what he's done to the offense the last 2 weeks. Huge improvement. Huge. I wonder where we would be if Brown had been the OC from the beginning. Right? I know. All right, I got to shut up because I've gone way, way over. So I'll see you guys next Friday. All right, but I always end my show, love one another, be kind. It is the holiday season. Everybody does fill their heart with love and joy in November and December. Why can't we do that the other 10 months of the year? Be happy all year round and treat people respectfully and kind. Just like you do this time of year, if you're that kind of a person. I do it all year round, and it's a good feeling. It's a real good feeling to love one another. Because times are tough, and we got to stick together. And Bears fans, breathe. I know, this is the season, what we're living in. What happened? What's happened since Washington is what we're going to deal with the rest of the year. And it is since then, and I've said it a million times, he lost the team. I don't care what anybody says. And now we have lost 5 games. So this is what we're going to do the rest of the season. But we got to support our Bears. I liked how the fans were yelling yesterday. You supported your Bears. You showed up. I'm proud of you. And I am proud of the Bears in some ways yesterday because they did fight back for overtime. They did. With the mistakes and the stupid turnover and the defense not being able to do a thing, they came back and gave us a chance. So, breathe. Everybody, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. You never know, maybe the Bears will shock us on Thanksgiving and make it an easy, yummy meal. I'd like it to be close like this at least because I'm going to be with people, my daughter-in-law's family, and it's tough when you're not with your family or your Bears fans when you have to watch the Bears play a really good team. And they're 10-1. And I believe they're going to the Super Bowl. And so we'll see what happens. So I'm skipping the show Wednesday. I'll be back Friday, and we'll work everything down. And just keep believing. I know we're going to have to wait till 2025, but we got a quarterback, people. And on that note, enjoy your holiday and keep on rocking and rolling. And thank you for watching me from Vegas, baby.